A stick, a stone, it's the end of the road. It's the rest of the stump, it's a little alone. It's a sliver of glass, it's a life, it's the sun. It's a night, it's a death, it's a trap, it's a gun. The oak when it blooms, a fox in the brush, the knot in the wood, the song of the thrush, the wood of the wind, a cliff, a fall, a scratch, a lump. It is nothing at all. Beautiful song. Fantastic song. If anyone knows that. If you don't know that song, The Waters of March by Antonio Carlos Jobim, watch it on YouTube. It is absolutely electrifying. Fantastic song. And great recorders who have performed that beautiful song. Hi, everyone. Hi, Judy. Christy. Good evening, Christy. Hi, everyone from Oregon. Dana's from Oregon. Knoxville. Hi, Shelley. Good evening, Kathy. Here we go. Elaine from Illinois, Oklahoma. Oklahoma. Here we go. Joanne from Tennessee. Wonderful. Grand Rapids, Michigan. Love to see where everyone's from. Fredonia, Kentucky. I didn't know there was a Fredonia, Kentucky. Newberry, Ohio. Francine. Very nice to see everyone. See a lot of the same names, a lot of new names. It's wonderful to have you folks with me. Minnesota, Ireland. Sharon Daly from Ireland. She's got her Irish flag up. That's fantastic. I love it. From Indiana, and so glad to be here. I'm glad you're with me, Pamela. This is wonderful. I love doing these. So we're in the Materia Medica, and we are on the C's. And the letter C is going to represent a number of remedies. And this one tonight we're going to talk about is for cardiac. This is easy to remember too, because C, cardiac, and a cardiac arrest, and cactus grandiflorus is the remedy. Cactus grandiflorus. It's night blooming cactus. It's actually a beautiful flower. It's pink and it kind of spritzes out. It doesn't have big fat petals. It's more like feathery, very pretty. So I wanted to talk about this because I don't want you to think, and I say this pretty much every time, that you should not get medical help. But on the way to the hospital, and perhaps being able to stay out of the emergency room because it worked so well, and then instead later you can go for testing. I like to use this medicine. It's not I used it years ago for my father who had cardiac arrest. I think I used this in the 80s for him because it was the one that I had learned about. I'm going to tell you another one that I also love for cardiac arrest. And so what I have always done, that's Buster coughing up his blueberry pie, I think. Is that when my father wouldn't just have a cardiac arrest, a lot of times it was angina, but not severe, or he'd get palpitations, or something would happen that would lead him to believe that something cardiac was occurring. And because he had had a history of it many years ago, we knew what it was. He knew. He had the experience, and he certainly knew what it was. Well, when this was happening back in the 80s, my parents, my husband and I and our children lived next door to my parents. If that isn't Italian, I don't know what is. So my father would call me, or he'd come over to the house not feeling well. Something's happening to my heart, and I would grab the kit, the homeopathy kit, but I had a special kit for him with specific medicines that are specifically for cardiac, for angina, etc. And we're going to go through all of them, but not all tonight. I don't want to give it to you all at once. I want you to learn these. I want you, when I finish talking about this tonight, I want you to be able to go to your Materia Medica, not just my Materia Medica, although I believe that that's a good place to start, but then go online, look up Dr. James Tyler Kent. I hope you've purchased Fatak or any of the other Robin Murphy's got a wonderful Materia Medica. Robin Murphy, ND, naturopathic doctor. I like his Materia Medica. There are many, many others. I use the desktop guide by Roger Morrison as well. It's kind of cursory, but that's okay because that's useful too. So you can get the whole extreme Materia Medica with many, 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 many pages on each of the homeopathic medicines, or you can get it more concise. This is one. This is by Franz Vermeulen, very heavy, not inexpensive, and Cactus grandiflorus is, of course, in here, and I think I remember it being about 4 pages long, whereas mine is just an entry, so that you have a quick reference, and then if you feel that you need to know more, then please read these medicines. Make them a part of your memory bank. Build this skill of understanding not only how to use these, but also what to use. So my father would come to get me, and we would hop in the car, and I would be driving, or my mother would be driving, and I would have the homeopathic medicines, and I would be administering them to my father on the way. Now, the hospital was not far, so I'm going to say it was not even 3 miles. We would pull up to the hospital, into the emergency room parking lot, and by the time we got there, often, quite often, my father was improved. I'd given him this medicine and another one we're going to talk about every few minutes, maybe every 3 minutes, because when something is very severe and a true emergency, potentially a true emergency, you can give the medicine more frequently. In fact, you should. So by the time we got there, he would say, okay, I'm better. I definitely feel I'm better. And we would park as close to the emergency room door as possible, which was paces away. Inevitably, heart attacks often happened in the middle of the night, so there weren't very many people around. There were spaces around that entrance door. And so we would spend a couple hours there with him, knowing that the emergency room was only paces away. If we needed, I could call someone. They could bring out a gurney and get him if need be. But he did not want to go through the emergency room. He had been through it before. He felt as though it really had not helped him. He had nitroglycerin. He had been using nitroglycerin through the years. He knew that's what they would be giving him. And so he was trying to avoid the emergency ordeal. Now, again, let me repeat. I'm not telling people not to get to the emergency room for an emergency. Please understand that. But when you have some leeway, you have a little wiggle room, and my father I was letting him make the decision. When he felt he had some wiggle room, we stayed back. Other times when we didn't feel we had wiggle room, we went in and he got the emergency care. So what I would do is I would give him Cactus grandiflorus, and when I first started using it, because it was so long ago, back in the early 80s, I would give him a 30th potency. Now, Cactus grandiflorus is a remedy predominantly for constrictions. So it's a sensation of constriction, circulation, and the chest. And I'm reading this directly out of my Materia Medica. The constricted feeling in the chest and pain in the heart region is described as being gripped by an iron fist. Other physical complaints answered by this remedy picture include headaches, he'd never had that, with a sensation of weight on the crown of the head, profuse nosebleeds, constriction in the throat, or a feeling of a band around the chest. So my father only had that gripping sensation in the heart area. And the person needing Cactus has a tendency to wake up frightened, and that's exactly how it started with him, and suffers from sadness and ill humor. My father was not ill-humored. My father had a great sense of humor. He may be very anxious about death, and indeed, that is what my father was experiencing. Symptoms become worse when lying on the left side, after exposure to the sun, after disappointed love, or after eating or fasting. Symptoms become better with fresh air, sitting, and rest. So I kept this medicine on hand, and I actually made a separate little kit for him to keep on hand, and it said emergency, and I labeled the medicines with little tabs on them so you could read what needed to be used and how frequently. So it was, like a little bookmark tab that has a sticky side to it, and I would write constriction in the heart, cardiac, every 3 minutes in case I was not there. I mean, if I were, my mother would know what to do. And it's very hard when you're going through something like this to know what to do. My mother was just as worried, of course, as my father was. My father had cardiac arrests on and off, and arterial sclerosis and palpitations, etc., angina for, I'm going to say 40 years. I think it was about 40 years. My father ultimately passed away from it, but he was going to shortly be 91 when he did. And so I feel as though I helped give him a good quality of life and kept him from going under the knife many, many times. So the other medicine that I used for this kind of a situation, which I was using more frequently even than the Cactus grandiflorus, was aconitum. And the other is arnica. So aconitum has the sense as though something in impending doom. I'm certain I'm dying. We've talked about that earlier in this series that I'm doing now on the Materia Medica. It's extreme terror, and it has a lot to do with the heart as well. And I always use aconitum 200. The other one is arnica, because arnica is specific for blood flow. So any constrictions would be perhaps opened up. And so, but my father through the years was on arnica for daily, for the whole chronic issue. And he was taking arnica in a 3 for a long time. He was also taking it in a 6 for another period of time. And he was using that instead of that godforsaken aspirin, which causes hearing loss, and ecchymosis and nosebleeds and all kinds of blood disorders. And if you have no other choice, then okay, I guess. But why use excuse me for using this analogy, but I can't help it. Why use something from Walmart when you can use something from Coco Chanel? So we're talking about a grand difference. It doesn't mean, and I don't have anything against Walmart, I actually shop there too, but it doesn't mean that you can't get a higher quality just because another one acts. Why not try to find the best medicine? And that's what I believe homeopathy is, because it's effective, it's inexpensive, it's effective, it's readily available, it's effective. I'm going to keep saying that because it's as effective, if not more so, than synthetic medicine. It's also does not pack side effects, and it's effective. So why not just use the medicine that is the finest? And as long as you know what to use, and that's very, very important. So if the person felt like they were constricted and there was a nosebleed and there were other conditions that were presenting that truly made it clear that cactus was the medicine, Cactus 30 was the medicine, then I would go a little bit more towards that. But I would not be adverse to using both, not at the same moment, but cactus, then aconitum, then, all 3 of them, and arnica montana. So if you're using arnica montana in an acute situation, I would go for a 200 potency. If you're using aconitum in this situation, which is also acute, I would use it in a 200 potency. And I've been saying cactus in the 30, but 200 I believe would work just as effectively. So it's these are medicines that you want to have on hand. This would work for an elderly person. It would work for a dog. It would work for someone who has just come out of surgery. People have cardiac arrests after surgery, so you have to watch for that. And so that you want to be very careful of that, even slightly younger people. Cardiac arrests can happen in folks who are in their 50s. It can even happen to someone in their 40s. So you definitely want to own these medicines. I urge you to buy from Boiron, Boiron, Hyland's, Hyland', Washington, a homeopathic pharmacy, Hahnemann Pharmacy in San Francisco area, Helios in England. Those are my favorites. And then those who are clients of mine or students of mine, then they know they can get a discount from OHM Pharmacy. They're not a retailer. They work directly with practitioners / teachers. So you also know that if you go to Boron and you use my name type my name in the little box, you will get a discount. So definitely take advantage of that. And again, I'm going to remind you, I have no affiliate program with them. I do not get kickbacks. This is so that you get hooked. I want you hooked on this medicine, folks. So my father carried for many years his nitroglycerin in his pocket because he was, of course, very worried about having cardiac arrest. And then after years, after quite a while, when he could feel comfortable about it, he was not willing to just let it go. Then he would carry the nitroglycerin and cactus and aconitum with him in his pocket. So I made sure I got him, a little tiny, small bottle, and not something too big that he could carry in his shirt pocket. He also kept it in the car, these medicines in the car, and kept them by his bedside. Now, why didn't he take these on his own? This one night that I'm telling you about, it happened a few times, but why not? Why didn't he do it on his own? I'll tell you why. Because people get too frightened. They don't know what to do. They're freaking. All they want is someone who knows a little bit more, who cares about them. But I urge folks to get 3x5 cards, and especially when it's something as important as this, and write out in bright red, maybe with a yellow highlighter, emergency, cardiac arrest. This is what you do, and put it very clearly. Put it in the kit, or have a special kit, make up a special kit specifically for yourself, your husband, your loved ones, whoever you're most concerned about. So, okay, let's see what questions we've got here. Hi, Rona from Toronto. Finally made it live. I'm glad you joined us. Karen from Pennsylvania. Okay, what was the first remedy? Well, just so that you know, folks, if you don't catch what I'm saying in the beginning, you can watch this over and over and over again. Usually we have about 120, 130 people watching live on these Monday night Facebook Lives. But by Tuesday afternoon, there are often thousands who have watched. So you can watch it over and over and over again. So hi from Utah. Hi from Australia. Very nice. There we go. Yes, Cactus grandis floris. Thank you for Natalie for saying that, for clarifying. For those who didn't get it, you'd like to hear me sing. I love to sing. That's why I have to do this. Pardon me?
And your YouTube.
And my YouTube channel as well. Michigan. Oh, yes, my YouTube channel is now in Spanish. And you're going to be very impressed. You're going to think that I speak perfect Spanish, but I don't. I have this wonderful woman who's a client / student, and she works for me too, and she dubs her voice over mine. And I'm speaking in beautiful Spanish. We're also doing it in Mandarin. We're doing our Materia Medica also in Español, so that we can reach as many people as possible. Oklahoma, yes. You could use aconitum first. It depends. This is what you want to do. Study these medicines. And if the person is absolutely freaking, I'm going to die. I'm sure I'm dying. This is it. This is it. And this can happen even if someone's got bronchitis, if they've just been hit by a car, and they doesn't even have to be serious. If they say, I'm dying, aconitum first, okay? This is it. And they say goodbye and that kind of thing. You're loving the cell salts and the gateway too. I'm so happy to hear that. Join these study groups, folks. For those of you who are not, please consider joining them. You're going to learn an awful lot. And you need these skills. This is so important. Okay, working in ER, nurses would always say patients with a sense of impending doom were often the most ill. Yes. Oh, yeah. I think that can possibly be. Also use aconitum and arnica. Thank you for clarifying that. Okay. 6. Could you use arnica 6 one time per day for heart palpitations? I don't use arnica for heart palpitations. We're going to be covering that later. I don't use it for that. I use arnica just to make sure that the blood is is not too thin or not too thick. It corrects the blood. You see, what aspirin does is it thins the blood. Arnica doesn't manipulate. It doesn't force the blood to go one way or another. Instead, what arnica does is it corrects the viscosity of the blood. You have to get some cactus. Yes, do get it. All right, let's see what else we've got. Do you have a video on diabetes, cataracts, and nerve damage? No, I don't have any. I don't believe I have any, and I don't have any classes on those quite yet. I'm glad you're hooked, Evelyn. Very glad to hear it. Okay, let's see. Highlands, thank you for reiterating. Highlands, Washington Homeopathics, Hahnemann, Helios, if you're a student, OHM Pharmacies, so that you can order. If you go to Boron, I don't know if you, did you say yes, Boron, then you'll get a discount if you use just my name, first name only. Yes, 3x5 cards, you bet. What about glucosinum? Glucosinum's good for the heart as well. It's just not one of my first remedies for this. It can be good for the heart, but glucosinum is, well, certainly for heat, but it's not my first choice. All right, let's see if we've got any more. Good for the Spanish. Yeah, I love the Spanish idea too. And the video tab. Okay, thanks for the Facebook Live, and that you'll be able to watch it later. I'm getting bashed about talking about homeopathic medicine by some nurses on Facebook. Well, you know, if people don't have an understanding, then they don't have an understanding. See, most people think homeopathic means holistic. And so they're thinking it means maybe crystals or essential oils or vitamin therapy, etc. There are, if you go to my blog and you read the section on where all of the input is, Perry, where all of the courses are, not the courses, the downloads. I can never remember what that is. I guess it's community, and then go to resources, or maybe it's the other way around. Community, then resources, and you will see a number, just community, okay, and you'll see a number, several pages of research that has been done by community. Yes, I got it. Thank you. I think I've got it. Community. Any ideas for shingles? Well, certainly go to my blog. Absolutely. All right. You know, folks, if you wonder about what the remedy is for thus and so, this is what you do. Joette Calabrese, and then the name of the condition. If it's not on my blog, then it's going to be in someone else's blog that I've written for. I haven't done that in a while, but it's still up generally. I have a column in Wise Traditions that I've been writing for 10 years, quarterly. So, yeah, and we also have some people already telling about shingles, what to be used. So is there anything that can be done for heart murmurs? You bet, but I'm not going to cover that tonight. I don't want to get too deep into cardiac issues. But let's see, new studies have shown that aspirin is not working for heart attack. You're absolutely right. Here's the thing, folks. In 1790, Dr. Samuel Hahnemann had figured out a number of homeopathic medicines. He determined how to make these medicines, this nano medicine that is so small that it only is now being able to be viewed in certain kinds of microscopes. And the medicines that he came up with for this or that were done in provings with hundreds of people. Remember, he was a professor. He was a medical doctor. And so he had many students that he worked with to help him put together the provings. And if you listen to my podcast, I talk about that, and I'm going to be following what is homeopathy, and you'll understand it a little bit further. I'll be doing another one soon that will be up and posted soon. And these medicines that were used back in the 1790s, 1810, 1823, 1872, 1898, 1910, 1927, 1934, 1949, 1956, 1999, 2019 are all the same medicines. Nothing has changed. We are not the lab rats with homeopathy. That's the beauty of it. They've all been proven on the people who were willing to take these medicines and learn about them so that they could be studied. Those people agreed to be the lab rats. We didn't agree to be lab rats by allowing steroids to be smeared on our skin and antibiotics to be used for every little boil and little tiny otitis media. We did not agree that by taking the birth control pill, we would find out 20, 30, 40 years later that menopause was going to be hellish, or that it could cause breast cancer, or that it could cause a distaste for our mate, for our husbands. We were the lab rats. We still are the lab rats if we take these drugs. Now, again, I'm not telling you to get off of your medications. That could be very imprudent. But if you learn how to use this medicine and use it properly, you will be able to take care of yourself and your family. And eventually, perhaps, depending on the conditions and your age and the medications you're taking, get off of many of the medications and live a drug-free life. All right, new studies, let's say, have shown that, yes, you bet. Well, what else is new? They said for years that if you have a mitral valve prolapse of the heart, that you must take antibiotics every time you have your teeth cleaned. They changed that. The American Dental Association said, oh, no, forget it. Never mind. We changed our minds. It's not a good plan to do that. So now people all those years have been taking, and I was included in that very long ago because I have a mitral valve prolapse. And we were told to take, anytime you had your teeth cleaned, antibiotic, antibiotic, antibiotic. So every 6 months you were taking an antibiotic that you didn't need. Prophylactic. Bad word. Bad word, that prophylactic medicine for prophylaxis. All righty. Thank you for, yes, you're very welcome. Arrhythmias. I'm going to be talking about these further, arrhythmias, etc. I don't want to give it all to you tonight because, to be honest, I could be here all night. Discussion on homeopathy and aspirin. Yes, and there's more. And hi from Payson, Arizona. Lovely, wonderful folks. I hope this helps you. Stay focused, stay curious, take care of yourself, and take care of your families. And so I leave you with God bless, and have a great week. See you next Monday. Bye, everyone.